welcome. These will be my thoughts on Fear the Walking Dead Season 1, Episode 5, Cobalt. The episode is rated TVMA, so this video there will be spoilers for the episodes of this show leading up to and including this one, and possibly the first 5 seasons of the regular live-action The Walking Dead TV series, since those 5 seasons had aired by the time this did. Another episode I love. So I really appreciated the let's see, so the first scene, I think that what come to think of it, I think that was the part where we see Ophelia, you know, the yeah, trying to get the yeah, isn't that the first time we see her trying to get into contact with the soldiers? I think it might be, and you know, the various neighbors seemingly too scared to get involved, which does segue nicely into saying that Rebecca Watson, the skeptic, made a phenomenal video. Yeah, let's see, if I recall the title, it's something along the lines of "These fascists are lying about ICE." And yeah, it is indeed about Renee Good and the yeah, it's tough to watch, not, you know, on account of the subject matter, not because Watson does anything at all wrong in the video, but it is important, and yeah, it feels very relevant to this scene. So let's see, I think the next thing, oh wait, yeah, right, I think actually the very first scene was, so I'm not actually entirely sure, did we get a name? I guess for now, let's see, he says he's not in insurance, so for now he is Mr. Surance. And yeah, it was fascinating watching him and some of the military people in this episode compete for who could be the biggest fucking asshole. Yeah, god damn, as if Doug doesn't have enough problems already. But yeah, you know, it's that he can tell, you know, Mr. Surance can tell that he can get something out of Nick. If Doug is there, you know, it's that it's like that part of early in There Will Be Blood, where, you know, he just can't quite, you know, there's a little bit too much disagreement, so he just abandons and he goes to find help elsewhere. Mr. Surance is locked in there, so he can't just go to someone else. He really only has Nick, and yeah. But phenomenal performance, like, holy shit. It was, yeah. I think the next thing might be, oh yeah, I guess maybe that is when, let's see, so Ophelia, you know, yeah, some of the military are like, well, you know, she's dangerous, so you're not that different from ICE, is what you're telling me. Like, holy shit, you're gonna say that she's trying to throw "we have Molotovs at home" at you? Whose liquor cabinet did she raid for that? Anyway, the but yeah, you know, at first that guy is yeah, and I was a little surprised that this was something that happened. I already mentioned my theory as for what would happen with this military guy who's, you know, in love with Ophelia, in my video on the episode before this one. But yeah, he will walk her home, and it does not go as he had hoped. And I quite liked how one of the military people said, you think I like being a power-tripping 5-0? Now, for those who might not know, 5-0 is slang for cop. So he's acknowledging that LA cops and other large American cities and other countries, yeah, that's what they fucking do. And I think that brings us to... Yeah, I thought it worked really well. Chris, we've now seen him very upset. And yeah, part of the reason is that Liza left on her own. He saw that with his own two eyes, and Travis points out, I mean, it's because she knew she could help people there, but even so. And yeah, I did really appreciate Travis saying you have to apologize to Madison, because I'm sorry, he was out of line. I understand why he did what he did, or said what he said rather, but yeah. And, there is indeed tension between Travis's two families. And ultimately, he does not apologize to her. So this could definitely become a problem in the long term. I think and it is also like one of his family members is out there too. Like, you want to include him in the discussion. I completely understand why he's bothered. And it is, of course, that thing, sometimes parents will discuss something that affects one of their offspring's lives without involving them in the conversation. And that can feel, sometimes it is necessary, but it can feel very frustrating. So, and I know I've said it before, but it bears repeating. One of the worst things to a teenager is being treated like a child, being disrespected by authority figures. I think the next thing was Liza. That was another element that worked really well. She is trying to help, and she is apparently doing a good job. A good job. And yeah, the doctor... I don't really blame Liza for not trusting her about Griselda. Right. And as we see in this episode, and I'm sure others, had guessed, yeah, they did not give Nick anything to help wean him off. They're just keeping an eye on him, not actually helping him. Yeah. I think... Let's see. I think the next thing was Travis going to Moyer, and yeah, Moyer was... I mean, it's difficult to say because he did have more screen time, so there's more of a chance for him to show his ass, but I think he might have been the bigger asshole of the various characters in this episode. Yeah, and the thing about, like, you can't talk to the doctor is like, I thought you said you couldn't. No, you can't. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I have guns. This is America. Wow, that was very honest of him. And let's see. Yeah, so they get in the humdrum V, and I think this is when Madison hears, she's looking for Alicia, reads the note, and yeah, here's a thud, goes to check. And I personally thought it worked. I remember seeing some people questioning it, but I thought the fact that, when she's just in the same room as the military guy, she's talking to him, she's confronting him. But as soon as he's not within earshot, she's questioning Daniel about, are you sure this is a good idea? Because the thing is, she's not convinced yet either way. And if they do end up keeping him there, she doesn't want to undermine Daniel in front of the military guy. That could make it so much more difficult. And she, on some level, there's that thing. Daniel says, is it that you don't want it to happen, or you just don't want to know? And yeah, she doesn't. She wants to pretend like her hands are clean, but yeah. And let's see. Yeah, and Ophelia thought that they really were just going to hand him over, but that was never what Daniel had in mind. I think the next thing might be when they try to. Oh yeah, I think it's Chris and Alicia, and I do really appreciate the way that Alicia, like at times she can be, slightly brooding, teenager, but she can also be really charming. Like what a dad joke. Like, yeah, they are federal. I am local, and I run this place from here to there. Just like yeah, and yeah. So they go to a place together, and I think the next thing might be when yeah. So they're about to take Nick away because fever and yeah. So the Mr. Assurance, you know, buys Nick's freedom, and the guy even says, I don't know, I mean, he might turn, but I got what I wanted out of you. I don't care. And it is true. There is a lot of corruption and bribery in situations like this because there's not really any oversight. He feels like he can get away with it, and he doesn't really care about these people. And right, and also there's that line about these are basically kids. They miss their mom, which definitely reminded me of how Dead Domain pointed out that it clearly affected some of the. I think that was that also National Guard? I feel like it's been a while since I watched that video. I at this point I'm not sure there's any video by Dead Domain that I wouldn't recommend. I suppose I haven't watched the entire backlog, but yeah, Dead Domain. Vesper Jordan noted that the it really got to some of the National Guardsmen when there were if these women telling them your mothers would be ashamed of you. Yeah, and Nick is like, why'd you help me? And he's like, I obligated you. And yeah, that is and he's got the key, so that definitely there's room for them to perhaps escape, but it's also very dangerous. I think that is the part where we see Daniel ready the knife and explain, that he's not intending to trade. And, you have that exchange about, I'll tell you anything. I know. And I just want there to be an outtake where he goes, no, I mean, without you torturing me. Oh, too late. And I think the next thing is so they take a break on the drive. Right, there's also that thing about, we've been awake for 50 hours. Well, boo-hoo, here's a tissue, What a fucking asshole. And yeah, they found a walker, so that, they're going to have it shot, and they're gonna, or yeah, Moyer specifically is gonna try to pressure Travis into it. And I will definitely say here it felt more like just an organic part of his character. I already said what I had to about the gun control thing in the which once again I 100% agree with gun control. I just think sometimes the way it's depicted is not great, but here it felt right because like now he's literally being asked to shoot someone in the face. He can see the eyes, like, yeah, okay, clearly this is no longer a regular person, but still. And then he's like thinking, I don't know, maybe if I just shoot in the heart, and then he sees the name tag, yeah. And I appreciated the little details. I think it's been a while since I read up on it, but I believe what they say about the sniper is all accurate. And right, and the Helen Keller reference, fucking asshole, god damn it. And yeah, so the next thing I think is when, let's see, there's the right, I also liked Daniel telling Maddie, you have to keep Ophelia from coming back down here. But yeah, we see that, he cut into the guy's arm. Yeesh. And, explains, if you don't talk, I'll cut deeper and it'll hurt more. Because it's dull, you twit! And, there's that bit where he talks about, this is how it happened, when I was younger, and it hurts both the man in the chair and the man doing the torturing. Which there is a lot of truth to. There are people who have done things like torture and it completely destroyed them. I thought that it worked well, this thing of, clearly Daniel feels that he is a necessary evil in this episode. The torture is, and so it's one of those things where, in real life, and I appreciate, let's see, 2015, god damn it, I forget. I know I've seen at least some media from America that commented on torture from around this time, but I forget how what the consensus was. No, yeah, I think, yeah, because Zero Dark 30 was not too far away from it. I think back then there was still this idea that torture led to credible intel, which, you don't have to take my word for it. I do not remember the person's name, but at least one person who professionally works within, has said, no, you can't trust. They'll say something, but they'll say anything to get you to stop torturing them. And I think that might be the part where the yeah, so Liza, they're trying to treat these, and then they find something that looks like a bite, and we have that, sadly very reasonable thing of, if it looks like a bite, we treat it like a bite. And yeah, they just have to take precautions to, yeah. And let's see. Yeah, once again, I'm afraid I did not really understand. I think at least some of what Griselda said was, and I ask why. But other than that, I don't really know. Just that what she's saying doesn't make any sense. So I guess there's non-zero chance that she's saying the jungle came alive and killed them. And I think that does bring us to, yeah, so yeah, I liked, the two teens blowing off their teen steam. Gotta get it out, gotta let it out. And yeah, she's dressing up, he's playing with the kids' toys and such. I don't know how far they're gonna take the bit where they exchange a look, like they both just realized, god damn it, are we in step sibling porn right now? But I mean, obviously, yeah, it's not like they have spent as much time together. I would be really creeped out if she wanted to get with Nick, for example. But yeah, technically they don't have any DNA in common. It's just that his father is her stepfather, and yeah, such does sometimes happen. And that is definitely also something that could really cause problems, for this unorthodox family unit. And I think the yeah, they even end up smashing all this stuff. And yeah, there is a catharsis to it, because yeah, these assholes, what did she say? Last to move in, first to leave. They got away fine. They're not stuck here surrounded by military who, yeah. I think that's when in the episode we have Travis, or yeah, they all arrive there. And yeah, there's the thing about, well, some people don't want to come with. And one of the guys says, I also really appreciate, I think that might have been the same guy earlier. He was like, I'll take the shot, because he could tell Travis didn't want to, and he thought it was fucked up that Moira was trying to force him. But he tells him, no matter what, stay in the Jeep, which right away tells us Travis is not going to like what's about to happen. And yeah, I feel like this is quite an effective way to confirm, yeah, they did indeed shoot someone that they didn't have to at the end of that other episode. I forget if it was the one right before this one, but there was the thing about signaling with light. Yeah, they go to a place and they just shoot them because they don't want to have to deal with it. It's a hassle to treat human beings with any kind of humanity for people who they just want someone to shoot. And I appreciate the National Guard are not the worst at that, but there are a number of people in military and law enforcement in America and other countries who are there because it's legal for them to hurt, even kill people. What's that line, Monty Python? Back home, they'd hang me. Here, I get a bloody medal. Let's see. I think... does that bring us to... yeah, so, yeah, Ophelia does realize what Daniel is doing. And, yeah, that was really genuinely... God, I feel so bad for her. Losing her mother, and she doesn't even get to be there as her mother dies. And now maybe losing faith in her father, which is another thing that can really become a problem. And there's fertile ground there, dramaturgically speaking. And let's see, I think, does that... Some people find it extremely snobbish of me to say, dramaturgically speaking. That is why I do it. I like to troll every so often. And yeah. Let's see. I think that brings us to the, yeah. So, Moyer does not return, but everybody, seems like everybody else does. And they're just like, well, he got held up. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I wouldn't rule out that he was, overpowered by being outnumbered. And, like, all they had to do was take his radio. As soon as they drive away, what the fuck is he gonna do, Because he keeps pushing them. He has no regard for them or anyone else, and they just want to go the fuck home. And yeah, there are situations like this. There's actually situation I'm slightly reminded of in a scene in Full Metal Jacket. But yeah, and they know, we're not taking you to the doctor, we're gonna, we'll drive you to within walking distance of the, place where you live. And yeah, so he talks to Ophelia, and I really appreciate the economical storytelling. They just cut to him confronting Madison, because like, we know what Ophelia is going to say. It's not that interesting for us to see. We've already seen her immediate reaction to finding her father like that. That's a more compelling moment. And yeah, he pressures Madison, and they get the, he also hears the information about Cobalt. And yeah, sadly, in reality, there have been times where the military just abandoned people like that. And I guess that pretty much brings us to the yeah, and the military guy is saying, so you're going there for a boy who's not really your son, a woman who's not really your mother, and another woman who's not really your wife. They are that callous. They just don't see, like, yeah, he cares about them, like, what the fuck. But the yeah, and also the part where, Travis, there's that thing about, you've helped me a lot, and are you threatening me? No, I'm just trying to help. It's obviously not a threat. Like, holy shit, some of these types will just take any fucking excuse to throw their weight around, try to feel like a badass. And I think, yeah, it was really, really powerful and painful when Liza has to put down Griselda. Yeah. And, once again, like, this situation wouldn't have happened if the authorities had handled this better. Like, her foot getting crushed and leading to this entire situation, that started with the police not properly explaining, this is not police brutality. This is genuinely, like, there is no other way to keep people safe from the walkers. And I think, let's see, there's definitely at least one more thing I want to say about the episode. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Let's see. There's it's that thing with the, yeah, Daniel, goes to the doors, and there are walkers in there trying to get out. And yeah, I feel like there's something. On headed home, the step siblings are, I appreciated that. I think was it Chris who realized they're not on patrol. The way they're driving, they didn't even pay attention to him. They're just leaving. So they might not know that it's for good and that it's everyone, but yeah, they've seen with their own two eyes this. Yeah, and I think it was also very strong when Daniel says, when she was 9, Ophelia asked about the war, and I told her everything except which man I was. He was the torturer. He was not the person getting tortured. And yeah, that it is one of those things, like, it's so difficult. I'm not a parent, and I never will be, but I understand for those who are, it can be very difficult to know when to tell your offspring about things that they won't like, but it's in the past and you felt you did the right thing, kind of. Yeah, I think I'm gonna real quick mentally fast forward through the episode to see if there's anything else that I really want to make sure to say in this video. I think that might be everything. But yeah, so there's only one episode left this season, I believe, at least. And yeah, I'm fairly confident there is. And the yeah, I can hardly wait. It's it is really starting to become, we already knew from the main show that the military did not succeed in controlling the situation. And now, actually seeing with our own two eyes them, or three for some people, seeing them fail and just abandon them, not even tell them. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if the finale is going to be like big, but I could definitely see hypothetically it could be, and it definitely is. It's a very effective lead-in. It's not quite. I'm not sure I would call it a cliffhanger, but there's a lot of walkers in that building. You have all this drama between the characters that we've gotten to know, and the military are leaving, which, like, that might mean that it would behoove our characters to do something, perhaps leave the area, because if the military aren't even going to stay, like, what chance do they have? I mean, there's that saying, the rats fleeing the sinking ship. Okay, that feels a little wrong. I want to make clear, I am not comparing American military, the ones who are like trigger happy or don't really care about people. I'm not comparing them to rats. That would be so fucked up. I obviously have much more respect for rats